Good morning. Welcome to the Boise Unitarian Universalist Fellowship's online Zoom service. We are so glad you have joined us this morning. I'm the Reverend Sarah Lawal. It is my great honor to serve this beloved community. I want to take a special moment to welcome and recognize any newcomers among us. If you are brand new with us, please introduce yourself in the chat so that we can warmly welcome you. And we have a newcomer card we invite you to fill out. We'll post a link to that in the chat as well, so that we can keep you up to date with all that is happening in our fellowship. And there are many ways to meet new people and connect online with the good folks of this community. We have moved everything entirely online, and there's so much to choose from meditation to yoga, to social groups and chat groups and travel bugs and book groups. It really is delightful to see all that is happening weekly online. Whoever you are and wherever you are in your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. Whatever faiths you have known, if any, you are welcome here. Whoever you love and however you identify, you are welcome here. A quick reminder that our nominations for next year's plate partners are open. There are links in the chat, and you can nominate a local social justice nonprofit in our area to receive 25% of a monthly plate offering, and we will vote on those collectively in May. So you'll get an email that allows you to vote on all of the possible nominations for our plate partner. As we gather together each week, even virtually, we take a moment to acknowledge the land upon which our church and homes exist. Is the ancestral land stolen from the Shoshone-Bannock, Paiute, Nez Perce, and many other tribes who inhabited a vast region, including much of Idaho, before they were rounded up and forced to leave. This land has a long history, long before colonization. We acknowledge that our presence here today is founded upon the exclusions and erasures of many indigenous peoples. And with this acknowledgement, we wish to demonstrate a commitment to beginning the process of working to dismantle the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism and offer our gratitude for the land and for the stewardship of the indigenous peoples and the first inhabitants of this land. Many Native peoples live among us today. We honor their connection to the land, and we support their right to sovereignty. In the challenges of these truths, may we move through the world bringing justice in every way that we can, listening to the truths spoken to us by Native American peoples and making space for them to re-inhabit this place, giving them back the resources they need to heal their communities. In our collective effort to move beyond the words of our land acknowledgement, we have one final session of our three-part convening, a series we call Toward Right Relationships with Indigenous Communities. The first two sessions have been wonderful and powerful, and so we invite you to join us for our final session this coming Saturday, March 27th from 9 a.m. to noon. They are chock full of wonderful, deep opportunities to expand our own learning, hear from people in community, and talk with one another. And this week in particular, I want to offer a moment to express our solidarity and collective grief alongside the Asian American Pacific Islander community in the wake of the shootings in Atlanta. We send our love to the victims and families and survivors. We recognize the history our country and our city has had of racist acts towards and erasure of Asian communities, which have sadly grown in the wake of this pandemic. As Unitarian Universalists, we affirm that every human life is important and worthy of respect, every human life. And in the midst of the forces of hate that seek to undermine our fundamental understanding of our interdependence, we reaffirm our compassion and responsibility to one another. The Asian American Pacific Islander community here in Boise is holding a public vigil on Tuesday night at 6:30 in the evening at the Anne Frank Memorial. Masks are requested. We hope those of you who wish to join are able to do so. Our spiritual theme for this month of March is commitment. In all the different and varied ways that commitment shows up in our lives, in ways that we are forced into, commitments that we didn't choose, and the ones that choose us. And today we are exploring the nature of sacred commitments, how they offer up a different orientation to the journey of our lives, and the role that failure plays on the path to those commitments. As we begin our time of worship together, I invite you to breathe with me. Let us breathe together, knowing that as you breathe, you do so connected with this community. Breathing in the peace and love and belovedness. Centering yourselves in this moment. Allowing yourself to release whatever it is you are carrying from this week and be present here, now, in this space, together. Thou art the song of my heart in the morning. Thou art the dawn of truth in my soul. Thou art the dew of the roses adorning, thou art the woven whole. Thine is the grace to be steadfast in danger. Thine is the peace that none can destroy. Thine is the face of the need-driven stranger, thine are the wings of joy. Thou art the deep, to the deep in me calling. Thou art a lamp where my feet shall tread. Thy way is steep past the peril of falling, thou art my daily bread. Thine be the praise of my spirit uplifted. Thou art the sea to each flowing stream. Thine be the days that are gathered and sifted. Thou art the deathless dream. Wende Yaho is a traditional chant sung by the women of the Cherokee tribe as part of morning prayers facing the rising sun. Today we hear a version of the song popularized by Walela, a trio of Cherokee women. But it is sung in a different language, it is not sung in the Cherokee language, which is still spoken today by over 15,000 people. This song is sung in an ancient language spoken by one of the last migratory tribes in North America. Here is the Stanford Talisman Choir sharing with us Wende Yaho.
Each week, we light our flaming chalice, a symbol of our free faith, a beacon of hope, love, and justice. We join in this lighting in solidarity and community with thousands of other Unitarian Universalists lighting chalices today in homes and in virtual worship services, reminding us that we are connected to one another and to a larger community of faith and love. If you have a chalice nearby, you're invited to light it with us this morning. And if you like, hold your chalice up to the camera and switch to gallery view to see all the chalices being lit this morning. And you're also invited to share in the chat where your chalice is lit. With our collective chalices lit in all our spaces, we offer you this call to worship from the Reverend Dr. Rebecca Parker.
Let us covenant with one another to keep faith with the source of life. Let us covenant with one another to keep faith with the source of life, knowing that we are not our own. Earth made us.
Let us covenant with one another to keep faith with the community of resistance, never to forget that life can be saved from that which threatens it, even by small bands of people choosing to put into practice an alternative way of life.
And let us covenant with one another to seek for an even deeper awareness of that which springs up inwardly in us.
Even when our hearts are broken by our own failure or the failure of others cutting into our lives, even when we have done all we can and life is still broken, there is a universal love that has never broken faith with us and never will.
This is the ground of our hope and the reason we can be bold in seeking to fulfill the promise. Come, let us worship together.
I invite everyone to cozy up for our Time for All Ages this morning. Yesterday was vernal equinox, or the official start of spring and Aries season. As an Aries sun myself, I'm very happy. It's my birthday season. And tomorrow is World Water Day. So I wonder, what are the signs of spring that you are noticing? What kinds of things are you wanting to go and do outside now that our valley is warming up? As we move into spring and all the joys and wonders we get to witness of Earth waking up from winter and growing new life, let's talk about what it means to support the Earth and all the life that it sustains. So as context for our story this morning, Ojibwe author Carol Lindstrom shares an Indigenous perspective on justice for our Earth, rooted in Anishinabe prophecy that speaks of two roads. One road is a natural path. It leads to global peace and unity that embraces the sacred relationship between humanity and all living things. On this path, all beings deserve care and respect. We as humans use our voices to speak for those who have not been given a voice. On this path, the earth is not damaged. There is no black snake. The other road is described as a hard-surfaced highway, where everything moves faster and faster at an unimaginable speed. On this path, humans embrace technology advances with little regard for Mother Earth. Many native nations believe this path is symbolized by oil pipelines, the black snakes that crisscross our lands, bringing destruction and harm. This path leads to a damaged earth. So here is a truth. This is a prophecy talking about two paths. We choose to walk a path as communities. And when we take a path, we choose it as a community. And as one person, your responsibility is participating in one step on one of those paths and encouraging others and helping others to take that one step too. And what I mean by this is your power is being part of an action that a group takes. You take one step, and the whole community moves with it. Sometimes this feels like very little, that you're only responsible for one step, but it is very powerful. You can't do more than you're able to, and you also can't do less. We can also choose who we follow when we take our step. We can focus on supporting others to move down a path of justice. When it comes to environmental justice and nurturing the earth, that can mean supporting the actions of Indigenous people, listening to what they say is important to do and then doing it. This can be donating to Indigenous activists and support networks, or helping shut down construction on a pipeline, or any myriad of things in between those two options. Our story this morning will help us explore following the lead of other people as we fight for earth justice. It is called We Are Water Protectors by Carol Lindstrom. And it's illustrated by Michela Goad. Water is the first medicine, Nokomis told me. Nokomis is Ojibwe for grandmother. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. The river's rhythm runs through my veins, runs through my people's veins. My people talk of a black snake that will destroy the land. You can see a pipeline in the distance. That's what it looks like. An above ground pipeline sits on top of the earth. It will spoil the water, poison the plants and animals, wreck everything in its path. This is what it looks like when a pipe leaks oil. When my people first spoke of the black snake, they foretold it wouldn't come for many, many years. Here's the grandmother speaking of that Anishinabe prophecy, the prophecy speakers. Now the black snake is here. Its venom burns the land, courses through the water, making it unfit to drink. Take courage. I must keep the black snake away from my village's water. I must rally my people together. Stand for the water, to stand for the land, to stand as one against the black snake. Here she is with her people. She has her ribbon skirt on, medicine wheel earrings, holding a feather high. These are important cultural items for her identity. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. It will not be easy. We fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. The winged ones and the crawling ones. The four-legged, the two-legged, the plants, trees, rivers, and lakes. The earth. We are all related. Tears like waterfalls stream down, tracks down my face, tracks down my people's faces. Water has its own spirit, Nokomis told me. Water is alive. Water remembers our ancestors who came before us, she said. You can see the reflection of her ancestors in the water here. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. We are stewards of the earth. Our spirits have not been broken. We are water protectors. We stand. The black snake is in for the fight of its life. Here's a protest sign that says we stand with Standing Rock. Over there. Oh, there. So I wonder, why do you think water is important? What do you think is the most important action to take right now to protect water, to keep it clean and our waterways healthy? What is a creature of any kind, two-legged, four-legged, flying, crawling, that you care a lot about and want to help protect? What are some ways that you've seen communities fight for our earth? From our Green Sanctuary team here at Boof to Standing Walk Water Protectors. How do you want to help those fights? So I invite our children and our youth to remain in the service today, listening to the music and the wise words and the big questions of our community. After the service, youth are invited to join their youth advisors in our Youth Chapel Zoom room to discuss Earth-centered justice and ritual in honor of the equinox and all the religious holidays that kick up in springtime. Everyone, join now in singing our community blessing to honor this multi-generational community full of ever learning, ever growing, ever justice seeking beloveds.
May your mind be open to new learning. May your lips bring truth into the world. May your heart know love and your hands do the work of justice as you go your way in peace. As you go your way in peace.
Thank you so much, Jem, for that beautiful story and that deep reflection. As the weeks have gone on, I am reminded of that sense of comfort in being read to and being told a story. And I really appreciate that space that we've created here together. Our annual giving drive kicks off in just a few weeks with a special service on April 11th. This is the time of year when we invite all of our members and friends to make a financial pledge to the fellowship for the coming fiscal year, recommitting ourselves to our mission and vision. Our recent connection dinners have been wonderful and a great opportunity for us to connect with one another in small groups and share and reflect about all that we have weathered together in this past year. And we're also excited to share with you additional testimonials from our community, from interesting and surprising places even in our community that remind us of our theme for our campaign this year, Together We Thrive. We really have thrived during this year in beautiful and unexpected ways. Here to share with us her testimonial is Carolyn Pizzolato.
Hi, my name is Carolyn Pizzolato, and I am Miriam and David Whiteo's daughter. When I attended Booth growing up, I was 16, 17, 18 years old and in high school. I loved participating at Booth, and my favorite service was the winter solstice service, which brought me so much joy to attend via Zoom this year. Back in 2002, I loved to see Charlotte playing on the piano and the different musicians coming to play. I loved the sermons that felt real and in touch with me. I was involved in Dream Group with Judy and Charisse, and I enjoyed performing in the play Our Town with Deb, Gwen, and Eric. I always loved the summer campouts too. I got to do a dance for my bridging ceremony, and it seems like I might have missed out from attending the OWL classes that my brother continually reminds my parents about him having to endure. When I went to college, I tried out different Unitarian Universalist fellowships, such as the Bellingham UU, the Port Townsend UU, and Saltwater Unitarian Church. Although they were all great, none were quite like Booth. It is a joy to feel like I'm coming home again due to technology and the Zooming that has allowed me to rejoin the Booth community. I find myself inspired, hopeful, and part of something with others after attending Sunday worship. I've had the joy of joining the racial justice group, where I've connected with new people, feel empowered for hope and change, and challenged in thinking about my role in racial inequalities. I am constantly supported and allowed to be who I am with this congregation. I am very thankful for Zoom and technology that allows me to be part of the Booth community, even though I'm out of state. I cannot wait to see what else this amazing congregation, fellowship, and role model in the community creates in these different times that have allowed us to connect with so many more people than if it was only an in-person service. Thank you for welcoming me and anyone who comes through Booth's doors that are always wide open. I continue to be inspired, hopeful, and excited to meet more people as I attend more functions through Zoom, in breakout rooms, and various online opportunities hosted through and by the Booth community.
Thank you so much, Carrie. It's been such a gift to know that you and your parents, when they're in Washington with you, are able to join us for all of the things that we've been doing this year. It's been wonderful to know that you're part of this community again. Being part of a community is a meaningful experience. It's one that asks us, a lot of us, asks us to commit ourselves, our time, our talent, our resources. And this congregation consistently shows up in meeting those commitments with enthusiasm and care. Generosity is a spiritual practice. And each week we take up that practice by taking up a weekly offering to help support the self-sustaining ministries of our fellowship and the ministry of our plate partner this month, the ACLU of Idaho. When you give, you are giving to say yes to the things that matter most and the things that reflect our values in the wider community. We thank you so much for your generosity. Our offering will now be received.
A few days ago, National Public Radio aired a segment featuring a new venture to resurrect and reimagine a newspaper created 200 years ago in Jonesboro, Tennessee, called The Emancipator. The original Emancipator is believed to be the first newspaper in the United States solely devoted to the abolition of slavery. The NPR story focused primarily on the planned launching of the new Emancipator through a partnership between the Boston Globe and Boston University Center for Anti-Racist Research. Ibram X. Kendi is one of the creators of the new Emancipator. He states, "This reimagined platform will marry the best of scholarship and journalism to analyze, comment, and seek truth about the racial problems of our time." While I'm excited to see what this present-day namesake of the Emancipator will bring, I was even more astounded to learn of the original publication, founded in April 1820, 41 years before the start of the Civil War, and 43 years before the Emancipation Proclamation. What type of effort, what genius inspired the creation of a newspaper, the sole purpose of which was the abolition of slavery in America, in a southern state, in an era when the voices advocating for abolition were few and far between. As I listened to the article, I calculated that Elihu Embry, the founder of the original Emancipator, probably didn't live to see the actual abolition of slavery 40 years after his newspaper was founded. So I looked it up and found that indeed, he had actually died only 7 months after he founded his newspaper. I also discovered that his road to abolitionist views and activities was not easy or straightforward, and he had many failures along the way. In his early adulthood, Elihu Embry had moved away from the tenets of his Quaker upbringing, and actually, through his second marriage, he became a slave owner himself. He later sold the slaves and then bought them back so he could free them outright. Embry was far from perfect. In addition to being a slave owner, he was apparently not good at business and known for his quick temper. But something drew him to embrace and devote his efforts to the sentiments of the nascent abolitionist movement in the country. Embry's commitment to abolition was not dissuaded by the majority of voices of his time that could not envision a country without slavery. Today, there are many voices that doubt the need for anti-racism work, and others who find it hard to even envision a world without racism and inequality. But we all know individuals who are taking up this struggle, folks who are committed to dismantling racism. I pray that it doesn't take 40 more years, but no matter how long it takes, there will be people like Embry who are willing to turn their failures and failings into action, regardless of the possible outcomes.
Thank you, Gwen. Thank you for sharing that unknown story for some of us. We're all in the struggle together with many failures and pitfalls and mistakes along the way. And part of what enables us to keep going in that struggle is being in community with one another and sharing our lives together, sharing our joys and our sorrows and our milestones and our struggles together. So we open up a space each week to receive and carry the joys and sorrows of this gathered community. I have a few joys and sorrows to share with you directly, and then we'll open it up and invite you to share in the chat. We offer our healing thoughts and prayers Deep wells of love to Brian Dale and his wife, Jen Grushdale, and daughter Grace. Brian's mom died of congestive heart failure on March 16th. She and Lauren were married for 60 years, and her 2 grandchildren, including Grace, were the lights of her life. We send you all of our care and love as you navigate this grief in your family. We send our loving care to Sharon and Dennis Rockwood, as Sharon recently was diagnosed with breast cancer. She's feeling good about her prognosis and treatment plan. We continue to open up our hearts of sorrow to Janet McClanahan, who shares that her son-in-law, that his treatment, his CLL treatment, is no longer giving him the quality of life he needs to keep seeking the treatment. Janet, we send our love and care to you and to your family. There are more joys and sorrows among us. I invite you to take a moment to share them in the chat as we receive the healing beauty of music. May the arms of this community hold all of our joys and sorrows, those expressed here today and those that remain silent and close to our hearts. May we be surrounded by the loving embrace and grace of community and by the oneness of everything as we hold the joys and sorrows of our beloveds and our world. Amen. There's something deeply comforting hearing our hymns played by Carrie and her piano at home. As I sit here looking out in an empty sanctuary, it is just one little moment of comfort that allows me to picture all of us in this space together, that sense of familiarity. Thanks, Carrie. You heard Jem share a little bit in our Time for All Ages of the Anishinabe prophecy, the Anishinabe prophecy. In the author's note of that book, Carol Lindstrom shares more of this ancient prophecy known as the Seven Fires prophecy. The prophecy is given by 7 different prophets and marks 7 eras of the life of native people on Turtle Island, one name for North America used by some indigenous tribes. Here's a little bit more of that prophecy in Lindstrom's words. The prophecy speaks of 2 roads. One road is a natural path. It leads to global peace and unity that embraces the sacred relationship between humanity and all living things. On this path, creation, mineral, plant, animal, and human are relatives deserving of respect and care. We are instructed to use our voices to speak for those who have not been given a voice. On this path, there is no black snake. The earth is not damaged and the grass grows lush and green. The prophecy says that if humans choose the natural path, then we proceed toward peace and unity and a healthy Mother Earth. The other road, however, is described as that hard surfaced highway. We heard those words earlier. That highway where everything moves faster and faster at an unimaginable speed. On this path, humans embrace technological advancement with little regard for Mother Earth. The prophecy is coming to life right before our eyes. We as a people, particularly under our dominant Western white settler colonialist culture, have committed ourselves to a path that does not serve us, that does not serve creation, a path of extraction and destruction. Many of us know this, and many of us know that we must find a new path, and many are making course corrections. And yet, the commitments this current path asks of us grip our lives in such a way that it is easy to get stuck and lost. It is difficult to see new paths, to see the twists and turns, rendering us unable to admit perhaps we need to double back, climb back down the mountain, and seek a new path with new commitments. Have you ever had to double back and climb back down the mountain only to have to start again? It can be a bit devastating and demoralizing. Failure can be such a burden. And many of us are unable to admit and embrace the many failures of our country. Sometimes we get so attached to the commitments we've made that we've missed the impact that that hold has had on our lives, on others, on the world around us, all the creatures. We've shut out the voices crying out for us to stop, to turn around, to listen, the voices of others, but also our own voice. We carry this deep-seated notion that breaking or giving up on our commitments is wrong or weak or bad. Not every path of commitment is clear and long with a reward waiting at the end. Some paths of commitment just lead to dead ends. Some trails are simply too steep and must be abandoned. Failure is so hard, even if avoiding it leads to devastation. Have you ever had a failure? Have you ever abandoned a commitment? How long did it take you to let go of those feelings of guilt or shame or personal weakness? Maybe you're still trying to get there. We've all had an experience like that. But there's a difference between committing to a vision or an ideal and committing to outcomes. And sometimes I think we confuse the two. And our path of commitment becomes driven by goals and outcomes and success. And very often only those successful outcomes are celebrated, reinforcing this flawed sense that if one is committed enough, success will naturally follow. But that's just not true. It's a myth we tell ourselves to keep pushing that rock up the hill. I think of the women in this month's hymn, beautifully written by our music director, Carrie Bastian. Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks, Stacey Abrams, all committed their lives to a vision of freedom, equality, and liberation for all people. But sometimes we overfocus on the successes and outcomes of those stories, instead of on the nature of their commitment and the failures they had along the way. Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad certainly could not rescue everyone. Surely they had experiences of countless losses and agonizing decisions about who they could help. And the Montgomery Bus Boycott was a well-planned direct action that resulted in Rosa Parks' arrest, trial, and conviction with a suspended sentence. But it wasn't the first time she resisted segregation and had prior entanglements with that very same bus driver. And after her arrest, she faced continued threats and harassment. She ended up moving with her family to Detroit. Stacey Abrams lost her first election and has been pursuing voting rights for decades, with recent victories built upon years and years and years of work and many failures. And we only know these women's names and stories because of their successes. And there are countless others who worked with them and failed with them precisely because they felt called to commitments for a different kind of future. And then there are stories like Mr. Embry and others like him who abandoned earlier commitments to pursue a greater vision, but weren't able to see that vision realized. What I appreciate about the story of the water protectors is that they help us understand the difference between sacred commitments and commitments tied to achievement, status, wealth, success. Sacred commitments are those grand ideals and visions about who we are and who we can become, about global peace and unity, harmony with the planet, spiritual growth and nourishment, collective liberation and thriving. They are the commitments that run through our veins. I invite you to take a moment to share in the chat, as you're able, what sacred commitments do you hold dear? Or what sacred commitments have you witnessed in others that have inspired you? Take a moment to share if you can conjure up a few of those sacred commitments together. As we witness and watch the list of the sacred commitments being shared, and as I think about what those sacred commitments are for us as a community and in my own life, I'm struck by the question, what commitments might we have to give up in order to pursue those sacred commitments? Sacred commitments invite us to show up as our whole selves, flawed and fabulous, and to experience new ways of being as we journey together on this path. When the protests against the Dakota Access Pipeline drew hundreds, thousands of supporters to Standing Rock tribal lands, a group of organizers created a welcome document with agreements and guidelines for those who were there showing up in solidarity. These agreements held the framework of the sacred commitments to which the Standing Rock protests were pushing themselves. And they included things like this. Ceremony and prayer are the bedrock of Indigenous peoples' connection to land and water and are central in protecting them. Actions are ceremony, and along with meetings, usually begin with prayer. Show respect. Notice how others honor prayer and follow their example. Do not spread rumors or information you aren't certain about. Don't contribute to any tensions between individuals or groups. Don't gossip. You may be asked to do something in a different way. It is more important to do as you are asked than to understand all the reasons for the request. There may be time to ask questions later, or you may learn by just listening and watching. Be open to doing things in a new way. Practice noticing and regulating how much space, energy, attention, and resources you take up. Listen more than you speak. Let Indigenous people speak first. When you feel the urge to speak, check yourself about how important it is to the group effort. These agreements continue. They take up 2 full pages, offering deep reflection and powerful context for the work of showing up in solidarity and in community. Sacred commitments are born in those places. What I love about the Standing Rock agreements is that they remind us that sacred commitments require ritual and self-reflection. As much ritual as work, as much prayer as passion. They require forgiveness and self-acceptance alongside endurance and grit and a willingness to just do the work being asked of you. Sacred commitments are not solo endeavors benefiting only a few. They invite collective action and community. They require showing up fully, mindfully, curious, willing to be led, and willing to work with others. Sacred commitments remind us where we belong. And sacred commitments embrace failure, not as a weakness or lack of some particular quality, but as a part of the nature of commitment and an opportunity to learn. Sacred commitments welcome repair and restoration. The 7 fires prophecy of the Anishinabe ends like this. In the time of the 7th fire, new people will emerge. They will retrace their steps to find what was left by the trail. Their steps will take them to the elders, who they will ask to guide them on their journey. But many of the elders will have fallen asleep. They will awaken to this new time with nothing to offer. Some of the elders will be silent because no one will ask anything of them. The new people will have to be careful in how they approach the elders. The task of the new people will not be easy. If the new people will remain strong in their quest, the water drum in the Midiwiwin Lodge will again sound its voice. There will be a rebirth of the Anishinaabe nation and a rekindling of old flames the sacred fire will again be lit. It is at this time that the light-skinned race will be given a choice between two roads. One road will be green and lush and very inviting. The other road will be black and charred, and walking it will cut their feet. In the prophecy, the people decide to take neither road, but instead to turn back to remember and reclaim the wisdom of those who came before them. If they choose the right road, then the seventh fire will light the eighth and final fire, an eternal fire of peace, love, of neighborliness, and community. If the light-skinned race makes the wrong choice of the roads, then the destruction which they brought with them in coming to this country will come back at them and cause much suffering and death to all the world's people. Which path will we choose? The path of suffering or the path of peace and love? Will we commit to power and achievement, or will we choose the sacred? Inevitably in our lives, we will make many commitments. Some will be worthy, others may not. As we travel these paths, may we be the kind of community that reminds one another of those sacred commitments to which we might devote our whole selves, each in our own way, each at our own pace, each doing one small part of a collective action, but still traveling together in community. May we embrace and even welcome the many failures we will encounter, repairing when we need to and offering ourselves and each other healthy doses of forgiveness, acceptance, and compassion. Knowing that we might get stuff wrong and we might make mistakes, but we can stop along the way, help each other up, dust each other off, and continue on the journey. May it be so. I invite you to continue this journey with me in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Activist and author Simone Weil says, prayer is absolute unmixed attention. So I invite you to join me in this moment of unmixed attention, of prayer in the form of meditation. Allow yourself to sink into the space where you find your body, to get comfortable, to rest your hands gently wherever they fall naturally, to close your eyes if that's comfortable for you, and take some deep breaths. Fill your body with that source of life, air. Ground yourself in this space and moment. And imagine out before you stretches a path. It's beautiful. It's inviting, it's beckoning. And you begin your journey down this path, full of curiosity, of wonder, of what you might encounter along the way, and the beauty that is before you and behind you. And as you move along the path, invite that space deep within you. that spiritual center, to open up. To receive the sacred commitments of your life's journey. As you wander down your path with wonder and curiosity, allow those sacred commitments to appear before you or arise within you. And as they do, allow yourself to name them out loud. Get specific. Perhaps you notice family, the earth, very specific places or aspects of our planet. What about yourself? Commitment to compassion, to self-exploration. Maybe there is something arising within you that surprises you. Maybe something appears on your path that is unexpected. That you respond to with a bit of doubt or uncertainty. Explore that with curiosity. The path continues beyond the horizon, far beyond your field of vision. Breathe into the journey. Know you can rest. Pray when you need to. Know you are not alone. Amen. Let us, as you're coming back into your body, into your awareness of your space, take a moment to ground yourself in your surroundings. If you need to rub your palms together or take a stretch up. Let us continue the spirit of prayer in song and sing together of our shared path of commitment with our beloved hymn, The Fire of Commitment by Jason Shelton and Mary Catherine Morn. The lyrics will appear on your screen and you are invited to sing along. The beauty of Zoom is you can sing as loudly and as out of tune as you wish.
From the light of days remembered burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the stories of our living brings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. And the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice.
Oops, it looks like our song ended a little early. So we shall leave it there and we'll all
And soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin.
Amen. There's the end of our beautiful song. I want to take a moment to thank everyone who made today's service possible and all of their contributions. Gwyn Reed, our celebrant, Debbie Foster, our tech host, of course, our fabulous staff, Carrie Bastian and Jem Emerson Page, and our ushers. Thank you all for your contributions to this community. Friends, I invite you to place your hand over your heart for our closing blessing. May the fire burn brightly within each of us, illuminating the path of our sacred commitments as we journey together, full of doubt and hope, fear and love, passion and prayer, toward the vision of a new world saved by us all. Blessed are we all. Go in peace.